Countdown.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Honest Property Podcast. We're your hosts, Becky and Ruth, and we love talking things all business and property. And on today's episode, we have the very first time the face behind the cleaning company group, Faye, with us, and she's going to share a lot about the importance of having cleaners as part of your business. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Faye.
We'd love to start with actually just asking why you started to start your company and just your background.
So I started the cleaning company, I think 3 years ago now. I was on maternity leave with my second child. Unfortunately, we had an event in the family where we lost my uncle to suicide, and the job that I was in was quite traumatic. It was quite emotionally draining, and I just felt like I didn't want to do that anymore. But I also didn't want to have to explain to somebody that I couldn't go to work because I felt sad or that I was grieving.
Yeah.
I've got OCD and I love cleaning, so it was a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest. So yeah, figured I would start doing domestic cleaning around the village in which I live. I brought my mum on board reluctantly to begin with. She wasn't too keen.
Family business.
Yeah. And yeah, we were going to do like maybe a couple of days a week so that I could fit it around the children, and she would then also fit it around my children, because that's what grandparents have to do. It's like an unwritten rule. And 3 years on, we are a fully established business. We specialise in extreme cleans. So we do things like hoarders cleans, we do kind of crime scene cleaning, but we also do HMOs. So we can do like the end of tenancies. We take it from build clean basically all the way through. So we do regular cleans, whatever that may be. So weekly, bi-weekly, and then we do like the end of tenancy side of it as well. And then we've got a division which is Airbnb. So we've got we've got access to, and that we clean for, around 70 Airbnbs in Bristol and Bath.
So it's busy.
Pretty busy, yeah. So yeah, that 2 days a week working in the village lasted, I think, 3 months, and now I work more now than ever. But I do have the flexibility of being able to work around my family, and I just love it. And I do definitely need a hobby. I feel like the really extreme stuff, like the really grotty stuff, I really love. So yeah, somebody said to me the other day, when will you, sorry?
What was your favourite out of all those sort of niches that you do? Because you do them all.
We do. I mean, I love a HMO clean. I don't know why I'm still so surprised when we go back after 2 weeks and it looks like we've never been. And it looks like, it's like you just go in and you just think, how has this happened?
You've everything.
Yeah. But I really love resetting it back to its kind of former glory, knowing it's only going to last maybe a week or two, little and often, I guess. But more recently, we've been working for the local authority in children's services along with the social workers. So working with families to sustain their homes. So it may have been that a family, their home has got to a certain condition, or there's elements of hoarding disorder, and they just feel like it's not manageable anymore. So it becomes problematic for the family unit and maybe the children as well. So we get called in to do kind of an extreme clean. So we do the clearance first, and then we'll help categorise and organise everything. So a bit like Stacey Solomon, sort your life out.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Very good.
Yeah. And then we do the clean at the very end, and it's really, really rewarding because you see the family go back into that home and you just see the sheer relief lifted off their shoulders. Now they've got like a baseline for them to restart their family life again, because it just became too overwhelming. And like I said, it could be down to mental ill health, anxiety, depression, hoarding disorders. There's situations where there's domestic abuse, and it's got to a point where it's too overwhelming to kind of reset it back. So I think for me, those are the best, the most satisfying cleans and the most rewarding.
I think as well with a clean home, you don't realize the psychology behind it, that it gives you the space to be able to think again. And especially if you're coming from a difficult background, that's something like that has happened to you, it can be really hard to change. You need someone to help you to be able to give that clarity back. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Like, so from just cleaning, you can
have a massive impact.
Massive impact, yeah.
It is as well, and part of it, due to my kind of background previously within kind of social care, I can approach it. So what stands out different, like how we stand out differently to other cleaning companies, I guess, is we can approach it from a support element as well. So we do support cleans. So we go in and we educate and teach some of the clients that we work with within those cleans how to approach cleaning, because we assume that everybody can clean or everybody knows how to clean. And that's not actually the case. And I've seen it lots with, care leavers, people that have been in care. They've not had those fundamentals taught to them. And then they're kind of moved into their own accommodation and expected to sustain it and maintain it. And that's really unrealistic. So along with the social workers within children's services, we've been looking to provide like support cleans, and we'll go in with a cleaning kit and like a cleaning rota, and then we'll work out what works for them and support them in that, so that then they're able to sustain their tenancy and sustain the level in which their home has kind of been reset back to. So yes, we're a cleaning company, but I think a lot of it,
to the root cause.
Yeah.
Like you get to the, it's not just putting a band-aid and going, you're gonna fix everything for them. You're giving them the actual tools
to maintain a comfortable, livable environment that's really
going to help them mentally.
Yeah. So like even yesterday I had a call from adult services, and I'm going tomorrow to look at an extreme hoarding clean. So, and it's for an older person. So again, you've got to be able to work and adapt with who you're working with, because we find that with some of our older clients, they can be a little bit reluctant having people help them. They pretty old school, they just crack on with it. But when it gets to a point where their tenancy is at risk because of the health and safety element of the hoarding, obviously you need to get the professionals in, and that's where we come in. So we kind of, we can do the cleaning, but that comes secondary, because I just want to make sure.
Realize how much of a people business it really is. Like, how to handle, how to manage. You have to deal with the humans and first before addressing the cleanliness behind it. It's not like when people think of a cleaning business, they just think somebody just lets themselves in and then cleans and then leaves.
But you've gone that step deeper.
And I think for me, that was what I wanted to build the business from. It's a passion of mine. I love it and I love what I do. And the girls that work for me equally are just as passionate. And that was really important to me. And kind of our ethos is that the cleaning comes secondary, because being in someone's house is quite personal. And whether it be one of our extreme cleans, whether it be, we do insurance work as well, or one of our HMOs, ultimately it's still their home.
Yeah.
How would you feel about somebody just coming in and just, doing their thing and not being respectful of the people, or
your space?
It's often people's safe space. Like for me, being home, that's my safe space, and that's kind of where you retreat back to. So you've, as a cleaner going in, you've got to respect that. So it was always really important to me, and it was always more than just a cleaning business. I mean, it was never meant to be a business. I was meant to just do it 2 days a week on my own. So
it shows how much you care. It shows like the care has come through, that you couldn't stop, and that's amazing that you've created a business where the care
and the passion as well, the people passion has thrived so much that your business is just grown so much that it covers all angles, and it sounds like you're equally as passionate about all sides of it and the people behind every aspect of it.
Yeah, we've had HMOs, and we see the value in having a cleaner. That's why we got in touch with you, because we just like, there is so much value in having a cleaner. We've seen it firsthand, especially if you have HMOs and the communal spaces, they can get neglected when people are renting a room. Sometimes the communal spaces don't always get looked after so well, because you have lots of strangers or not, just like living their own lives. And what else did we want to highlight is that it's something that management, even if you had a management to be able to look after your properties, they don't see everything. So
they don't go into the properties. Like, cleaners are so valuable to landlords. I mean, we found you through Ellie, who we had on a previous episode, and
Yeah,
she
Ellie's
was
great.
raving.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, she's really sweet. Yeah, and I think, like what you were saying, feeding back into it, that when we first started, we were recommended by somebody that I went to school with, Dane. He's pretty big in the HMO kind of developing world, and he recommended us to one of his friends who's also a developer, and that's kind of how it spiraled. But back then, we were just kind of called in to do the build cleans and the end of tenancy stuff. And at that point, houses were being rented to a group of friends. So there was that kind of mutual respect, and everybody kind of knew everybody to a degree. And then in years like 2 and 3, especially summer just gone, it's so different. So
how so?
we're seeing more of people renting room by room, and with that comes the neglect of the communal areas. So I think year 2 we had maybe, I want to say, about 10 communal area cleans. So quite quite a small number in comparison to the fact that we would end of tenancy clean about 60 HMOs across Bristol. And then, so this year, the end of tenancies were catastrophic. The damages.
Would you be able
So
to tell some stories?
yeah, I mean, I was going to say, we don't hold any bars when it comes to our social media. Obviously, we don't let the properties be known, but we will put it out there. We often get people going, "Did you have to put that up? It's dinner time." And I've just seen, I'm like, yeah, well, I'm
Let's
being
expose the
really
truth.
real. Yeah, I'm literally not going to hide behind anything. So one of our properties this year, landlord, again, is a really good friend of ours now. He had his property fully managed. So with that, inspections were being done every quarter. Nothing really flagged like any major concerns. Got to the end of tenancy, and one of the tenants had completely smashed the room up. So he smashed all the furniture up. There was rubbish. You could not see an inch of flooring. And seemingly for no reason, like none. I mean, it was a student house. And we were just really confused by it. I mean, that the communal areas weren't great, and we did have issues. I say we because I'm very much part of the whole dynamic now. I feel like I just get involved anyway, whether they like me there or not. And we kind of had a few issues that we were aware of, antisocial behaviour, possible, that people had reported that they could smell drugs and things. So we didn't expect it to be great, but we didn't expect it to be smashed up. So the clean down generally will go in as like a team of 3 or 4, and we can be there anything from 20 hours kind of upwards. This house in particular took 4 days.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was bad.
Do you feel like that's what's happening more and more that you're seeing?
Yeah. So then for us, we were kind of having conversations with all of our landlords and feeding back across the board with all of them, like how bad we were finding it with all of our other contracts. And so I think they kind of moved more towards the model and the infrastructure of having regular cleans through their next kind of cohort and tenancy. So I think we've got just over 40 communal area properties that we clean now. And it seems to be, yeah, definitely the way the landlord's going. So we approach it with a kind of protection and prevention kind of stance. So we want to prevent long-term damage, long-term build-up, and we want to protect the landlord's asset. So we are going into the property with a view of hitting the most kind of, I would say, the high traffic areas, but the areas that would cost the most amount of money to replace. So you're thinking like the limescale removal in the bathrooms, on the stainless, but also things like kitchen, the fronts of units. We found a lot of them were being ruined because landlords were using matte dark colours. They were getting grease on them, water, and you couldn't reverse it. So, they've spent loads of money on a kitchen that now looks ruined, and there was nothing we could do. There was no miracle cleaning product that we could do or use that would reverse that. So it kind of then sets a bar where new tenants might move in and go, it's not that great. It's clean, but the finish doesn't look great. It's not as polished anymore as it was compared to the pictures. So they maybe don't treat it as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really interesting. That's a really good tip, is that if you work with a cleaner, maybe you can ask advice on the style and what would work.
What is cleaner? What is easy to clean? Because I'm sure there's certain finishes and certain like textures or colors even that make it really difficult. Actually, do you mind sharing what are,
Absolutely. So I was at a networking meeting the other day and it was just really last minute, but they were like, oh, can you just stand in, Faye, and just do a little bit of a talk about what you do? And because we've got landlords here that are looking to start building HMOs and we think it'd be really useful. And a couple of them approached me after and were like, we didn't really think of this. So we were thinking about getting, the taps in the showers black. We were thinking about getting like brushed brass. And I was like, no, do not do it. Just stick to stainless. Don't do it. Because everybody went through a stage of getting everything black.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to maintain the hardest water. It's ridiculous. And there really is no miracle product. We can make it look better, absolutely, but we're really limited and restricted. So if you're going to maintain it and it's going to be cleaned properly on a regular basis, so like weekly, I would say weekly as a bare minimum, the black will be fine and you'll be able to keep on top of it and it will look great. Same with like the matte coloured dark like cupboards in the kitchens, the unit doors. Everyone went through a stage of getting like navy and black, but they're really difficult when it comes to grease and water, because then if you get drip marks down it, the coating over time gets affected. You can't use anything abrasive on the matte finish because it will destroy the appearance of it and it will be quite visible. You can't use a blade on it, like even a plastic blade could be quite risky. So anything matte and dark, stay clear of. Anything black or brushed brass, unless it's going to get cleaned weekly and done well, stay clear. So I've now seen a shift in properties that are still doing everything really, really bougie, still looks absolutely beautiful, but they are doing like the taps and the shower controls. They're just keeping them to stainless because we can use abrasive cleaners on them. We can use our plastic blades on them. They're far easier to replace, but they're also, they last much longer and we can still get them back to brand new. So same with the shower screens. So a lot of our landlords kind of went with the black frames. Again, big no-no. Just keep to normal frames. Yeah. And then also another thing is the shower traps. So this is gosh,
I've seen your videos of those and they're so disgusting.
Love a shower trap. So one of the girls that works has been with me from the very beginning. Yeah, we literally have like a little bit of a fight off who's going to do the shower traps. And every end of tenancy, we're like, who can get the worst one? So that's
competition.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean. That's why I say I need a hobby, because things like that I really love.
You're like the cleaning version of Dr. Pimple Popper.
Yeah. Yes.
I love it. Something really gross but satisfying.
Yeah.
Satisfying. Yeah. So I think as well, a lot of landlords were going for like the black trap. So the covers on the top, they're usually plastic coated. The coating comes off. They look rubbish. They don't look too great at all. So try and stay away from them. Use stainless. And it's just little things like some of the shower traps, they're like Allen keys to take them apart instead of a screw. The Allen key ones are really fiddly and really difficult to take apart. So the build up can be quite substantial and it could be quite fiddly to take it all apart. So just a basic screw one where we can just unscrew it with a screwdriver and take it all apart and unclog it. Great. Yeah. So a couple of the landlords, this networking meeting the other day, were like, this is a lot of food for thought. And actually, we're probably going to rethink quite a lot of our choices and go for some, I guess, more sensible options. So that was really good because from a cleaning perspective, I do think that people have this expectation like, we're going to pay for a cleaner, they're going to go in and clean it and it's going to look brand new. And I always make sure that I manage expectations from the very beginning. We're always going to have limitations. There is not like one cleaning product out there that's like a miracle product that can reverse everything and solve everything and get everything back to brand new. We will absolutely give it a go because I hate being defeated. But like blood, sweat and actual tears go into a lot of the end of tenancies and a lot of cursing, I'm sorry to say.
No, appropriate when it's needed. Like
You know what?
sometimes you have
Well, you know what? When we were having our HMOs, and we were self-managing in the beginning, and we didn't have cleaners at the very beginning. But then we had some tenants who were resistant for us to get cleaners because they just weren't cleaning. I think it became, we had a cleaner come in every other week, but it's just interesting to see the change, especially for HMOs, that now actually what's recommended is every week, because you're essentially like the mechanics, the eyes and the ears of each property, that you can make sure that the property is going to stay as in good condition as possible. And like those little knacks of not an Allen key one, it's like reducing the
obstacles,
and making your job a lot more efficient, and so that you can spend more time on the other things that might matter more than having to deal with all these small little obstacles to get the job done.
Also, as a landlord, I think it's tempting to weigh up, okay, do I want the finish to look all modern so then I can get a better rent and get better tenants, versus how about something sustainable that is actually easy to maintain in the long run
and helps your team, your cleaning team.
You guys are essential for the long longevity.
So why would you make it harder?
So I think landlords now, so we've got like this whole kind of like mantra where we're the landlord's best friend and we want to be the one-stop shop. So, we'll do anything from the build clean to the regular cleans to the end of tenancy, but we've also got a guy on board that does all of our external cleaning, and then we've got somebody that does all of our carpets, upholsteries and hard floor. So I've tried to make the business model a one-stop shop so we can be like the landlord's best friend. Also, we can do kind of basic remedial work if we're on site. And so like Ellie, for example, we went to clear one of the rooms and she's like, oh, the blind's fallen down and the draw's fallen off. So one of our team fixed that whilst we were on site doing the clean as well. So that was kind of like just trying to make it a bit more of a seamless process, because ultimately everybody wants convenience nowadays. Everyone's time poor and don't have lots of time, but also you're looking to lean on other trades that are booking months in advance, and you're saying, I literally just need that drawer repairing, the blind putting back up, and I don't know, the bed tightening. So we were like, well, that's another gap. Why don't we look at offering that as well? So it's just trying to make things easier for the landlords, because I think people just assume that landlords are like cash cows and they've got all of this money, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Like one of our landlords is like, my HMOs have nicer kitchens than even I have in my house, and some of the HMOs that we clean are so stunning, and I take it as like a personal attack now when I go in and I'm like, what have you done here? And I think for us, part of like our success is that we are independent, we're a third party. So when we do all of our cleans, we always do pre and post pictures and reports. So we'll do like findings as well and our recommendations. And then if, for example, that needs to be put towards, deduction of the deposit or anything like that, we hold quite a bit of weight on that. So the other side of that is all of our reporting. So we record every time we do a visit, how we found it, the severity, and we grade it. We're basically the eyes and the ears, because even if you have a managing agent or a property manager, they're only going in every quarter, or if there's an issue. If you're self-managing, we've got a lot of landlords that are out of area, they're having to come in. So the first they know of any damage is potentially after 3 months. So like one of ours the other day, so the tenants had been in 6 weeks. It was only half let, because again, there's been a bit of a stagnant stage with the Bristol HMO kind of lettings game, as it were. It seems to just have, plateaued quite a bit. So it was only half let, so only 4 people living there. The 5th person went to move in, called the letting agent and said, absolutely not, it is disgusting in there. I am not moving in. So the landlord nearly lost a tenant because of how bad 4 tenants had made it in 6 weeks. So that prompted kind of an ad hoc emergency inspection. Letting agent went in and instructed us through the landlord. The landlord was like, I'll pay for it. Weighing up the odds, I'm going to lose a tenant over this. So just go in and do your thing, do what you've got to do. And it was bad. But it wasn't just dirty. They'd broken a door. So like the doorstop, or in the door they'd broken one of the showers. The build-up was extensive. the amount of rubbish to the back of the property was horrendous. And I just couldn't, it was just so difficult to work out how they'd managed this in 6 weeks. And it was only partially let. So we'd kind of, what we call reset, we reset it back. We got it back to its kind of former glory because we'd only just end of tenancy cleaned it. And then unfortunately got another call from the same landlord 6 weeks. So literally last week, I believe, saying, can you get out ASAP? We've had, the quarterly inspection, and it's worse than end of tenancy level.
Oh my God. What were they doing?
Do you know what? Between HMOs and Airbnb, I don't question anything anymore. Anything is possible. Like, I just can't. I'm like, how have you pulled a door handle off? Were you swinging off of it? I'm not sure. Like,
yeah.
The mind.
Why is the toilet seat on the floor? And why is there blood all over the bed? How? Why didn't you say something sooner?
And this is the thing, like, they don't think to say anything. So
yeah,
we've gone into one before now and there's water trickling down the pendants above the island in the kitchen. And they're all just kind of sat there gaming or watching TV or whatever. And I was like, guys, do you know there's water coming down your lights? Like, yeah, we did see that. I was like, did you not think to let the landlord know?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah. And that was down to the fact the shower traps were full. And I was only going in to look at the job for end of tenancy. So this was before we were being instructed for like regular cleans. And then, we went to this one the other day, having cleaned it just 6 weeks previous. It's now fully tenanted. So you can imagine it's double the severity's double. I went and got them all out of bed. I knocked their doors.
That was going to be my next question. I was like, how do you interact with the tenants about how they, should improve things ongoing?
Yeah.
But you're just saying now you get them out.
Or do they just rely?
So because we're instructed by the landlord, I'm there to protect the landlord's asset, bottom line, and I'm not budging from that. So within the time scale, I'm there the team, to do, those high traffic areas, kitchens, bathrooms. If it means that we don't have time to empty the bins or mop the floors, technically they are the least technical things to do. So I'm not that worried about it. And I will always feed that back to the landlord. We spent an hour doing a bathroom because of, feces up the wall and in the shower trap and everywhere where it shouldn't be.
Oh my God.
But we should have put like a trigger thing at the very beginning of this. Like, my horror stories, I'm pretty certain will give people PTSD. Yeah. When we were at the networking.
Then follow Faye because her stories are like so satisfyingly gross. Check it out.
I feel like I scared all of the potential landlords at this networking meeting. So I think the guys at the letting agency that had kind of like facilitated it all were a bit like, yeah, it's really good because you're really honest, but now we don't know that any of these are going to build HMOs. It's like, no, but there are really good ones. We do have really lovely, lovely houses and really lovely groups of tenants. So it's not all bad, just to put it out there. But the really disgusting stories are the really satisfying ones. So I love to talk about them. But no, so we went back to the house. I ended up waking 6 of the 8 tenants up out of bed because you couldn't see an inch of countertop in the kitchen, personal belongings just everywhere. I was left speechless, and I had a new member of staff with me, and I definitely thought she was going to cry. So I was like, I better take a handle of this. Yeah, so to be fair, they were really forthcoming. They were really apologetic. They bagged up all the rubbish. And because they did that, I communicated with the landlord and said, look, there's 6 of them here. They've been really, forthcoming. And so they've bagged up all the rubbish. They've cleared all the surfaces so that we can then access it and clean it and utilise the time you're paying us for well. And so the landlord went, well, because they've done that, I'll pay for the rubbish clearance myself. So he paid to get, and I think there was an excess of like 30 bags. So that's, easily like 150 plus. But within that, they'd ripped the bifold door off of the utility, ripped the dishwasher door off the front of the integrated dishwasher in the kitchen.
So this is a student property?
Mm-hmm. And they stuck Halloween decorations everywhere. So matte, white kitchen. They've stuck like googly eyes all over it. Got to the point where me and the girls were like, if I see another googly eye,
it's like adult.
You know what's frustrating is that because we had students at one point, then we just went completely professional, but I wish that there wasn't the stereotype didn't have to exist, especially in the property when it came to student accommodation. And I just want to say really quickly, this is why it's important to get a guarantor.
Yeah.
When you have students staying at your property, because like these stories happen and things need repair. And if you've got a cleaner who's able to come every single week to see that, compared to a landlord who can't just let themselves in every single week to be able to see what's going on, having eyes on your property every single week to be able to see what your tenants are doing is so valuable. It's the best money ever spent, in our opinion, was getting a cleaner.
Yeah, and I think for us as well, we very much keep, after every job, we'll keep on our job sheets, we'll keep almost like a timeline of events. So we'll report back every single visit, how we found it, how bad it was, or how good it was. And we feed back to the landlord or the managing agent, whoever it may be, post each clean. And we can send videos and photos if needed, but it allows for a bigger picture. So if we get to the end of tenancy and it's still really catastrophic, we can evidence to the deposit protection scheme or whoever that actually this is part of a bigger picture. The end of tenancy is what it is and is going to cost what it is going to cost, because we have done everything we can every 2 weeks or every week or every month to try and maintain this property, but they still have done what they've done and let it get to how it's got, even with us in there. So you imagine how bad it would have been had we not have been. So I think that, again, allows for a bit more weight for the landlord to be able to get and recoup the costs back for things like the remedial work, the cleaning, anything like that. Because I think what we'd seen initially was maybe in year one, a lot of the landlords weren't getting the full deposit or the full fees that they'd paid out awarded to them, because they the deposit protection scheme or whoever it may be, and we're leaning more towards the tenants. This time now we're seeing, and like Ellie is a prime example, there was one of her properties in particular and it was awful, and my report was really damning, and she got awarded the full fee. And she was just like, I didn't even think I would get back half of that. And I was just like, it's not fair. You're providing homes for people. You're providing really beautiful homes for people. We talk about students, but actually some of our professional houses are just as bad.
We've seen it too, don't worry.
Yeah, I kind of want to bring that in as well. Like, one of the landlords at this networking meeting that I'd gone to the other day had said to me, I've got professionals, so I'm thinking maybe once a month. Do you think that's, achievable? Because they, ultimately should be much cleaner. And I just kind of went, well, I've just come from a professional's HMO where one of them has taken a shit, sorry to swear, but one of them had pooed on the toilet seat. So he was like, they did what? I was like, on the toilet seat. I'm just going to leave you with that for a second.
Who needs a loo?
How could you be so close but so far at the same time?
It's just like, the worst thing is, this property in question, they all have en suites. There's one WC.
Maybe
and
it was
that's
a
the one they chose. And I was thinking, I mean, if they've got an issue with us, they could just address us. They don't need to go and have a dirty protest about the situation. I mean, I'm quite happy to have a conversation. So I was like, yeah, I just think...
How did they look you in the eye, whilst you were there?
I mean, nobody was around. They pretty much all stayed in their rooms.
They knew it was there. They must have known.
Absolutely.
Probably why they stayed in their rooms, isn't it?
Because as well, there seems to be this inability to flush toilets across HMOs. And so, I cannot explain to you the product and the chemicals we have to use to lift the lime scale out of the toilet bowls. They just do not get flushed. So part of excrement on the toilet seat was also, they hadn't flushed the toilet either. So I was a bit like, what, did the Amazon delivery driver turn up and they just had to pop off? Not really sure how this has happened. I've got a 5 and a 3-year-old, and both of my children can pretty much sort themselves out in that department and not get it over the toilet seat, and they can flush a toilet.
I think that's the thing. You could get a tenant and they can pass all the referencing checks, get the guarantor and stuff, but that doesn't give you any clue about how they cope with living, what their lifestyle is like, and
everyone has everyone has different standards of cleaning as well. So a poo might be completely acceptable on the toilet.
You're not selling it to me. It's not
Okay.
acceptable. It's not in any standard of anything. I mean, do you know what? I'm not precious. We've cleaned it. We've had it in shower traps. You know, you've said before we met today. You know what makes a good cleaner? If you do not have a good sense of humour, a strong sense of humour, and a strong stomach, you're not going to last very long. I'm like, the rest I can teach you, but if you've got a really bad gag reflex or not a strong stomach, or you've not got a very strong personality and sense of humour, yeah, you're really going to struggle because you've just got to laugh your way through it. Because you're like, how have...
I would watch it.
I would.
We always say we should wear go-go cams. I'm pretty certain people would watch them. And one of my girls in particular, her narratives that she runs with when she's videoing things to send into our group chat, it's priceless. Honestly, she just cracks me up every single time.
I'd be like, I just want to see how do you even communicate with each other how to handle a really weird situation?
I mean, and the thing is, it was me as well. So that day, I dragged my mum along with me, and I was like, it's not that bad. You know, she's worked with me from the very beginning, and she was fuming. Literally, she was like, you can do that one. I was like, I'll take it for Mum. I'm like, Mum, you've had kids. Like, let's not be precious over this now. But yeah, I always say that I wouldn't expect any of my team to do anything I wouldn't be willing to do. Someone also said to me the other day, like, when are you going to come off the tools? Like, so when we say on the tools, it's like us doing the cleaning. And I was like, never. I would far rather pay somebody to do all of the management, admin, business running side of things, and for me to stay on the tools than for me to come off completely, because I literally love it. Yeah.
And it really shows.
And no 2 days are ever the same. And I'm really lucky. The girls that I have on our team, they've been, the majority of them have been with me since the very beginning. And then, the newer ones that have joined on, they've really slotted into the team really well. And without them, they're like, I wouldn't get through anything. And that's not just on a work level, because there's going to be days where you wake up and you just feel a bit drained, or like, just feel like, society's dragged everything out of you and you've just got nothing left to give. And then they'll always be there to like crack the jokes, or just to like, bring you up a little bit and take it for the team if there's like a
nice community with your business.
Yeah, and like the girls that work for me, some of them are single mums, they're on their own, they're trying to bring up their children as well, and they're juggling that. And so I always wanted the business to be that it was secondary to their family, like their job came second. And so, we work really flexibly, and we make sure that, we always check in on each other, and we have like well-being days. So like if someone's not feeling 100% in their mood, or I guess just in their mental health, or just in their family life, then I always push on them to just be really open and honest about it. And they can pull a well-being day where they're like, do you know what, I've had enough of the world, I just want to go under the duvet and just eat biscuits and then watch Christmas films or do whatever. And we try and keep like socials, so like we'll meet up on a regular basis, because we don't all work together all the time.
So important.
It is. And I think because you're working so closely and in some really hellish conditions, to be honest, especially some of the local authority stuff, it can be really sad seeing that, where children have been living, or, how families have been living, and ultimately how services have failed them in a sense as well. That for me, because of my previous career, I'm quite resilient with, but I have to really remind myself that everyone else in the team may not be kind of so resilient to it, and it could be really affected by it. So we're always trying to make sure that we do check-ins and stuff with each other. But to be honest, the HMO stuff set us up for doing the extreme cleans, because I was like, hey, we're doing extreme stuff anyway, we might as well formally do it and like move completely into that sector.
So I want to say as well, like you can very much see, and like I can very much hear how the skills that you learned from your first career has really transferred into your business. Like you can just like when you explain what you do, I can just hear it through. And I think it's just amazing, even with like the well-being days with your team,
the level of care
and
amazing.
like, especially as like a very woman business, I think you're very forward thinking.
Yeah, I think I mean, I can't comment for everybody, but I'm really open. Was diagnosed quite late on in life with ADHD. Was a bit of a light up bulb moment for me. But when I told my loved ones and family, they were a bit like, well, of course. It's like, was I just late to the party? How did I not know this? But I do think in women it's a superpower, and it's allowed me to build and continue to keep building my business because I can hyper focus on it, and then I can drive it and drive it and drive it. And then once I've, got to where I want to be in that kind of division or that area, I'm like, oh, what's the next shiny object? What can I do? There's a gap there. Let's do this and let's do that. Let's join with these people, and, let's make it easy, streamline, more effective. Like, how can we be doing more, things more efficiently or effective?
Yeah.
And
you've made an ecosystem and pieced it all together with your superpowers.
Yeah, and I do think it is. And, there are days when, like, the girls are like, do you know what? You're just batshit. They'll literally say you're batshit. I'm like, well, But that's because they say, like, you work so fast, we get motion sickness from you. But that is my ability to be able to do that. But then I want to kind of, lead by example. And it's shown because I've got a really strong team. My staff turnover is minimal. And I've grown the business by no form of like advertising. All I use is social media, and that's not with a view of advertising my services. It's a day in the life of us kind of platform. So yeah, I'm really proud of the team and what we've created and the way in which we're going. Like, I really do love the HMO stuff and the fact that we're protecting an asset for landlords who are working so hard behind the scenes, and we're able to give them back a product at the end of the tenancy which is as close to its original condition as possible. Obviously there's going to be some general wear and tear, but I do see that going forward this is kind of going to be the way that we're heading and the direction in which we're going, and that's okay because we really love doing it, and providing that we can keep, protecting the asset and delivering a really good cleaning service and not moving too far away from what we love doing the most, then I'm just happy to keep growing it and developing it where needed and just kind of moving with the times essentially so that we meet the demand. I would say that we're kind of on the outside, I think probably people would think that we're a far bigger staff team than we actually are, but it's because we've worked so hard in finding the most effective and efficient ways of working. We all work fairly fast but very thorough. The processes are tight that we've got in place. Human error will always come into it, and there are going to be days where,
we're not a robot.
Yeah, we miss something, but we are really transparent about that. And our clients have been our clients probably from the very beginning, and we just keep getting new clients, on a regular basis, which I love. But more so it's because it's come from recommendations. So like networking for me is huge, and that's why I always try and make sure that other trades or, other businesses, small businesses that I have worked with or am working with, that if there's, a gap where they could be providing a service to somebody else that I know, I'm always for facilitating contact and making sure that people are, having conversations, even across from the Airbnb side, because we've got property developers that are developing, domestic, not commercial properties. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, that's a really good area for Airbnb. Why don't I put them in touch with our Airbnb hosts? Because they're big management companies, because again, that could be another connection. So yeah, I mean, there's a million and one ways how to run a business, and I'm sure I'm not saying that I'm doing it the best way, but for what I want it to be and where I want it to be, I'm happy with kind of how we're running it and looking for the next shiny object to see what we can do next.
Do you have anything on the horizon that you've got your eye on?
So we are scaling up on our Airbnb side. So we have pretty much from the very beginning been working with a big Airbnb management company in Bristol, and we co-locate some of our staff across to them a couple of days a week, and then we are their main subcontractors in the Bath area. So we're taking on more stock in Bath as they build it. So we're scaling up on that. And then we've taken a contract with another Airbnb management company in Bristol, but they've also got stock in Cardiff. So it's not necessarily an area that we would be moving into, but we would be helping them in terms of like the build cleans, the kind of deeper cleans.
For regular, us, but because of travel.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't need to go into that area to get work because there's literally enough here. But I just want to keep scaling up and building on the HMO side of things because, yeah, we really enjoy it. It's really rewarding. And yeah, by us going in, we are literally the eyes and ears on the ground on a very regular basis. I've got quite a keen eye for detail, and like the smallest of things that are out or the smallest of damages, people like, it's an ongoing joke in my team, like nothing gets past me. So we will pick it up, we'll report it back because actually that could be part of a bigger picture. So it's just about kind of developing those areas. So we do the snagging post build cleans anyway. Most tradies don't really like us because we pick up all their snags on build cleans. They're like, nobody sees it like that. Like nobody goes into a property and sees things the way you see it. It's not human. I'm like, it is. Everyone sees it the way I do. I don't think they do. And I need to manage that because that's a thing for me to manage. Not everyone sees it as I do.
It's reassuring for a property owner to know that your level of attention to detail is that strong, that they can feel really reassured that you're going to be really responsible for taking care of everything and feel good that you're actually there, keeping an eye on things.
Yeah, I'd far rather over-report than just assume. I think we learned very early on, don't just assume that it's already been reported because it hasn't and nobody's known about it. So yeah, I'd far rather over-report. But in terms of kind of developing and going forward, I mean, we want to work more with the children's services and the adult services around kind of the more extreme cleans and the support cleans. We don't really do any domestic at all anymore, so we've kind of come completely away from that, which is where we started. So the more commercial side of things. So I think the more extreme stuff, we really love doing it. It's our strong point. The HMO regular and end of tenancy stuff will kind of always be there, and hopefully that will grow along with the Airbnb side of things as well, because I think you need to have a balance. Because I think if you just send the team constantly into really horrendous situations, it's going to wear very thin.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice, but so extreme. You can literally go from a HMO to a really bougie Airbnb in one day where you've got to change your clothes between the cleans. And you're like, how have we got to this?
Never dull.
Ultimately, no, do you know what? The stories as well. And I always forget like how shocking they can be until they kind of come out. But I don't know whether that's just part of my ADHD or I'm not sure, but like my oversharing.
Share. Yeah. Really consider the series. Just somehow to share it more, because I honestly believe it would bring in a lot of people
and a lot of respect for cleaning companies.
Absolutely. Yeah, just totally value what it is you do day in, day out, and not take
I do think, at the very beginning I kind of jokingly said that when I turn up and introduce myself as the cleaner, I often forget that I also am the business owner. So I just, I'm the cleaner. And I'm not in my, tabard with like crazy hair and, a slightly older lady. People just look at me really odd to say, are you in the wrong place? Like, I'm not quite sure. You're the cleaner? I'm like, yeah. But I do think that people do have a perception of a cleaner, and I think they think it's a really low skill job. And we hear it time and time again. The sentence will usually start with, we have a cleaner, but, and then we'll go, they don't actually clean? They're like, yeah. So we refer to non-professional cleaners, all due respect to all cleaners, like it's a hard job regardless, but cleaners that aren't professional cleaners make our job harder. We refer to them as duster flickers because they literally go around, flick a duster, spray a bit of like air freshener, and yeah, jobs are good. Yeah. But that's kind of very surface level cleaning, where on the surface it looks great, but you get down to the nitty gritty and they've not tackled like any of the limescale or the mold. So I think, yeah, people don't necessarily respect what we do, and we get undervalued quite a bit. They assume that were not very skilled or educated, whereas actually,
absolutely,
for me, I've got a degree. I trained to be a social worker, decided I didn't want to be a social worker. But then, did my career within domestic and sexual abuse, set up services. I had a training school where I went out to the NHS and to the police and trained them in responding to domestic abuse and sexual abuse. I've worked within youth homelessness. I've worked within, survivors of human trafficking, in the court process with the police. I've done all of that. So I feel like I've earned my stripes.
Yeah. And built a business, managing the team, managing the customers, who on the toilet seat, nothing tops it.
I'd like to also say as well, we can really relate with you because, we started investing when we were young, and I don't know if you've ever heard our story, but we also ran our passion business was a pet care business, and we had full-fledged, we had staff, but we would always just we downplay it and be like, well, we're just a dog walker, because no one would take us seriously. But we actually are very good functioning business. 1 in 3 families in Bristol had a dog. We were never out of work, and nor was our staff. And I think sometimes, especially when you do a job that's not necessarily a lawyer or a doctor, it's easy, but you're actually you're really enjoying your job and what you've created and the ecosystem of the business that you created. We also have degrees, and it just, I don't know, maybe when we were younger, we would downplay it so much and didn't tell anyone we invested either. On top of that.
Yeah.
Don't know why, but I think we thought people wouldn't take us seriously. And so I can really relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, it's been eye-opening to say the least. From 14, 15, I was always employed, and then going into, being self-employed and then running a business and not really knowing what I was doing and just trying to get by. And again, I think my ADHD allowed me to really push through it and get to where I wanted to be. But again, the kind of flip side of that is when we get there, we move the bar anyway. So again, it's always allowing for the progression and stuff. But yeah, it does irk me so slightly when people have kind of not very much respect for the work we do, or they downplay it. And it's hitting all your sensories as well. So you see it, you smell it, you can taste it, and it doesn't quite leave you. And you do go home thinking I feel like this is in my skin. I feel like I still smell after 3 showers. And it's not for everybody. It's not easy. But before I kind of started my business, I read something online where it just said, if you create a job that's based off of a hobby, you'll never have to do a day's work again. And there are days where I'm a bit like, do I want to do this? So I just sack it off and work in Tesco. And then I remember, no, because I would be bored and wouldn't be stimulated.
Your brain thrives.
You don't have to love it every day.
No.
But for the most part, then, that signs you're on the right track.
Yeah, it's just the admin side of things. I'm like, give me a grotty bug hole.
Yeah,
I know. I'm like, I'll take a grotty pug hole or toilet seat with human excrement over it, over having to do invoicing. And I don't know. It's 3 years in, so I think statistically they say that most small businesses fail within the first few years. We're thriving, and I don't know.
You'll find systems ongoing that will continue to work.
Yeah, continual evolution of your business and finding processes and ways to optimize it. We definitely, I think everyone starts with pen to paper first, and then they find other ways to make it more streamlined.
Yeah, and I really enjoy it. The girls really enjoy it. My mum sometimes not so much. My mum does the companion cleans where it's the older adults that are living on their own, and she gets to go into little Dorothy and make her a sandwich and clean the house and take her some custard tarts. So when I'm like, here you go, Mum, here's a really grotty bathroom, she's like, I'm like, I've created a beast. Fun. I've made her a pampered princess where she's only used to really lovely things. But you
have amazing nails. I am. Yeah.
These are non-negotiable. Absolutely. If I'm having to deal with, and actually they're a very good basic tool. So when I'm trying to get hair out the plug holes, I'm like, I can use my nails. And we have some cleaning hacks that aren't really cleaning hacks. It's just like, yeah, I'll use my nail because actually it's blunt and it's not going to scratch anything to get that whatever it is off the floor.
Yeah, if it works.
I mean, yeah, it's if it works, it works. If it's not broke, don't fix it and all that. But yeah, it's kind of a non-negotiable for me. I'm like, it's still got to have nice nails. Like,
yeah, I love that.
presentation wise.
Yeah.
You meet some clients.
We had no idea who was going to be on the other side of the screen today because we've been conversing with Faye through DMs. And so, yeah, we're really honoured that this is your reveal. And we've really enjoyed we've really loved all of the insights and tips that you've shared. They've been really, really valuable. And if you want to get in touch with Faye or reach out for cleaning with the cleaning company group, where's the best place to find you? It's Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah, so we, like I've said, we don't really have any other platforms, so we just use Instagram. So we are literally, as it says on the tin, the cleaning company group on Instagram. And you'll find some really beautiful Airbnbs on there, some really good before and afters, but you'll also see lots of really grotty stuff. So
stories.
Yeah, stories.
Don't watch it if it's like a meal time.
Yeah.
Because, but then people say often when they know we're doing the HMOs, it's usually on like the same day. They're like, where's the pictures from that house the other day? So we've got a house that's notorious, got a black sink in it, HMO, and it looks like they brush their teeth with no water. It's like a speckled sink by the time we get there. And everyone's like, how's the sink this week? And I'm like, so this week's series of said HMO is the speckled sink.
I feel like you're going to end up writing a book called like the cleaning company diaries.
Yeah, the confessions of the cleaning company group. Yeah, I mean,
I would
watch this space.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on
thank
today.
you for having me.
Honestly, you've chatted forever.
Yeah, I mean, I have that effect on most people. I can just keep going, to be honest. I've got so many stories. But I'll continue to share them on Instagram.
Check Faye out on Instagram. I'll put the link to her handle, the cleaning company group handle below, so you can go check out the stories. Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions for Faye, send her a DM or send us a DM, and we can potentially carry on the conversation another time. But
yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much. Yeah, like you said, any questions? We often get people asking us like the best kind of tips, hints, tricks, or products or anything like that. We're really keen to like educate as well. So
important.
Just always get in touch. And obviously any cleaning services. There isn't much we don't clean anymore, to be honest. And then on a monthly basis, we do what we refer to as like a mental health clean. So if you know anybody within the local area that's struggling or they're overwhelmed and with, an area in their house or their entire house, then we provide a free clean every month to anybody
we'll add
in
that
need.
In the link.
So
sweet.
It's just one of those things. Your home is your safe place, and if it doesn't feel safe, then where are you going to feel safe too? So if we can help to minimise that and, do a little bit of cleaning along the way to,
I love that you
remove the burden. Yeah, it's really important. It's really, really important. And, like your girls were saying earlier, if your home isn't, your safe place, if it's, it's really muddled or really chaotic, that's often how your mind can become. So you need to be able to have that, even if it's just a room where you can just switch off and let go and just be at ease. So I'm really, it's something that means a lot to me, and I want to be able to give back in some way. So if there's anyone in the local area that's struggling, or if you know anybody, then please do get in touch. And if we can help, we absolutely will.
Thank you so much, Faye. Please reach out to Faye if you need. I love that she's building charity into her business. She's created a community and is genuinely so passionate about what she does. So, follow Faye, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you. Bye.